Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. So today's short program is actually going to be about Saka Paonta Sahib. So this was a massacre that took place at the Gurdwara of Paonta Sahib in 1964. Really, we want to look into the history of it, what took place, and also the kind of lessons that we get from it as well. So for those of you who don't know, a bit of background history. During the time when the Mughals had control of India, the Gurdwara that were built at the time, whether it was Darbar Sahib, whether it was Nankana Sahib, whether it was the Akaal Takht, or other such Gurdwara, those that were built at the time, because obviously the Singhs were very busy fighting in jungs, and a lot of the Singhs had to live in jungles and hiding in their jathis, and then they had to come out of the jungles and fight whenever they need to. So the sambal of the Gurdwara, so the kind of the daily routines of the Gurdwara, fell to people called Nirmale or Dasiyas. Now these people were Sikhs. They were also known as sadhus and things like that. So they were kind of like preachers. And these people, their jobs was to just basically maintain the Gurdwara. Now, holi they started to take management over the Gurdwara, and again, the Sikhs didn't really see it as that much of an issue. However, where the issue came was when, after Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Raj was destroyed and the Gore took full control over Punjab and over India, the one thing that they knew was that because the Sikhs had stopped them from getting into Punjab, as the whole time Maharaja Ranjit Singh was alive, they knew that if they wanted to keep India secure, they had to keep the Sikhs subdued. And the one place they knew that Sikhs would go and meet and discuss these kind of ideas about rebellion would be the Gurdwara. So in order to control the Sikhs, they had to control the Gurdwara. And so in doing so, what they did is they talked to people who were managing it. At that time, this was started to be called Masans or Mahants. Now Mahant is kind of like being Mahan, but the word was turned into a Masand, as in someone who's not really Mahan, because what happened is that these Masands started to have Chutha Man, and they started to have false pride that the Gurdwara was theirs and not Guru Sahib's. So obviously, when we go to a Gurdwara, it's in the name, Gurudwara. It's the Dwar of the Guru. It's not the Dwar of a Mahant. It's not the Dwar of the Parvanta committee. It's the Dwar of the Guru. But these Mahants were having this kind of fake pride that, we own the Gurdwara. Gurdwara Sadaya. Because of that, they had a big kabja over our Gurdwara. Now, because of this kabja that they had, it caused a lot of problems with the Sikhs, because now a lot of things were going on that were against Rait Maryada, that were continuously happening at these Gurdwara. Whether it was Darbar Sahib, Nankana Sahib, Jaito, Guru Ka Bagh, there was loads and loads of different Gurdwara that were all under the control of Mahants. And due to this, it led to the formation of the Shromani Akali Dal, so the Sikh party, and also the Shromani Gurdwara Parvanta committee. So this idea of a Sikh Gurdwara committee that oversaw all the things that went on in Gurdwara. So this was really the lead up to that. Now, obviously, I'm sure you've heard of Saka and Nankana Sahib. That was a massacre that happened at Nankana Sahib. There was also a massacre that happened at Paonta Sahib. Now, this massacre involved mainly the Nihang Singhs. So the Nihang Singhs are Jathebandi created by our gurus, and they were more of a Fauj. So they were like the elite Fauj that would be sent out, and I'm sure you've probably heard it as well. Nihang Singhs are also referred as Guru Ki Ladli Fauj. So these are Sikhs that they're quite respected in quite high ways. Nowadays there's a lot of controversy on whether or not they actually do what they were established for and things like that, but obviously we're not going to get into that now because it's not the time or the place. So these Nihang Singhs, so obviously the Nihang Singhs are split between the Buddha Dal, which is the army of the elders, and the Tarna Dal, which is the army of the youngers. Now this is like the kind of split, so they have multiple Jathebandis within each dal, and when you put the two dals together, you get the dal Khalsa. So it was this idea that that this happened. So Saka Paonta Sahib, when this happened, it mainly involved Nihang Singhs, but there was also a lot of Sangat that was there that also got injured as well. So really what led up to it was really what started to lead up to it was the formation of the Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee had already happened. With this, it had ensured that a lot of the Gurdwaras that were under capture were already safe. However, there were a few Gurdwara that they were under the jurisdiction of, say for example, the Taksal or Nihang Singhs. So they were kind of under a certain Jathebandi, so people didn't want to get too involved. And this was one such Gurdwara. So what ended up happening is that the Mahant at the time who was controlling Paonta Sahib was someone called Mahant Lena Singh. Now this guy was actually a big devout of the Gurukar, so this guy had a lot of respect for the Gurukar. So when he found out that obviously Sikhs were doing this reforming movement, this Gurdwara reform movement, and they were getting rid of the Mahants and they were creating a Sangat party that was going to ensure that the Gurdwara Sambal was happening correctly, he happily presented himself at Darbar Sahib and gave up the keys for Paonta Sahib. When he presented himself at Darbar Sahib, the Sikhs who were there, they were quite impressed with how humble he was, because a lot of the Mahants that they had to deal with at the time, they had to deal with either in violent ways or in protests that were causing a lot of shahidiyan and things like that. So it kind of got a bit messy, and so to have a Mahant who was giving up the Gurdwara willingly, it was quite a good sign. So seeing that, what happened is that the SGPC said that he could obviously he wouldn't be the Mahant of the Gurdwara, because it would be the Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee that would be controlling everything, but he could be the manager of the Gurdwara, so he could ensure that everything's still going on correctly. So he began to manage the Gurdwara, and it was seeming okay, and nothing was really kind of seeming out of place, and the Nihang Singhs were quite satisfied with what was going on. The problem came after his death. After his death, his son Gurdwara Singh took over in his place, just like kind of like how a Raja takes over and their son will take over their Gaddi. In the same way, Gurdwara Singh took over his father's duties, but not in the same way, because he started using the Gurdwara to his advantage, to fill his own pockets and to do other dodgy things that weren't exactly permitted in Sikhi, as well as obviously smuggling the Sangat's money, the Sangat Seva. There was a lot of underhanded things that were going on. There was reports about him being involved with other women inside the Gurdwara. There were reports of tobacco and alcohol also being in the Gurdwara as well. So things that the Sikh Rait Maryada doesn't allow, things like that were happening in our Gurdwara. And this was across the board with most of the Mahants at the time as well. This wasn't just this one particular incident. So Sikhs from the Lage-Shage Pinds that were around the area, when they heard about the kind of things that were going on at Paonta Sahib, they actually complained to the SGPC. And because obviously the SGPC, the Buddha Dal, the Tarna Dal, all the other Jathebandis used to work together. I don't know why they don't anymore, but they used to work quite cohesively together. And what ended up happening is the SGPC asked Baba Chet Singh, who was the Jathedar of the Buddha Dal at the time, he asked him to actually go and try and sort this out in a peaceful manner. Now, obviously, Nihang Singhs, they stay armed. They always stay armed, and same with all Sikhs who should stay armed. So Baba Chet Singh and a few of his Singhs actually went to Paonta Sahib, and when they went to Paonta Sahib, Gurdwara Singh got quite worried seeing a bunch of Nihang Singhs with a lot of Shastra on them, and he asked for forgiveness and actually took Amrit as well. And everyone seemed like, okay, it's sorted now, he's asked for forgiveness, story done. Unfortunately, no, because what ended up happening is that the moment the Buddha Dal left Punjab to go back to their own systems and to go into different places and do prachar, the moment the Buddha Dal had left, Gurdwara Singh went back to his old habits, and he continued to defame Guru Sahib, do silly things in the Gurdwara, And it was starting to become a bit of a big issue, because a lot of the Gurdwara had come under control by this point, but it was Paonta Sahib, which is well renowned as one of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's asthans as well. It was, kind of a bit of a beastie for the Khalsa Panth that, such a Gurdwara with such a rich history is now under the control of someone who is completely destroying Sikh Maryada. So the Sikhs were complaining, and they were trying to figure out a way to get rid of Gurdwara Singh out of the Gurdwara. They were trying to get him out of his position. The only way they thought they could do that was if they had some sort of support from someone who, could fight, and someone who, had some sort of strength. Obviously, the Buddha Dal had left Punjab, but the Tarna Dal was still in Punjab at the time. So they went to the Jathedar of the Tarna Dal at the time, Baba Harbhajan Singh, and they actually asked him to come to the Gurdwara and to get it and take it over, and take over the responsibilities of the Gurdwara, so that it would be away from Gurdwara Singh. So Baba Harbhajan Singh and a few other Nihang Singhs that were available at the time, they went to the Gurdwara along with the Sikh Sangat, and they took it over, and they started doing an Akhand Path of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and they restored the Maryada that was going on. They started making langar again, and it was back running towards how a Gurdwara should be. Unfortunately, obviously, Gurdwara Singh did not like that, but on his own, he wasn't prepared to fight against Nihang Singhs that were fully armed, that carried guns, and that weren't gonna listen to him at all. So Gurdwara Singh actually hired thugs, and he also involved the British government, who sent police as well. And the Sikhs, as they were preparing for langar, as they were getting things ready, and as they were preparing for everything to get sorted out, and the Akhand Path had started, and it was quite peaceful. Sangat started regularly coming to the Gurdwara. The Gurdwara was starting to get a bit more filled, and it was getting towards that kind of Chardi Kala aspect we're looking for. So then on May 22nd, Baba Harbhajan Singh was actually called to actually try and sort this issue out peacefully, and talk to Gurdwara Singh and try and resolve the issue. But what actually happened was that he was then arrested, and he was kept in custody so that he couldn't leave. And the police then surrounded, along with the thugs, surrounded the Gurdwara, and they basically asked the Nihang Singhs to come out and to drop their hatiyars and give up, and to give up the Gurdwara. Now the Nihang Singhs and the other Sikhs that were there, they were all doing, they were all busy with the Akhand Path, because obviously an Akhand Path, you don't stop reading Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, you keep reading out the Shabads and you don't stop. That's why it's called Akhand, it doesn't finish. And what ended up happening is the police thought that obviously the Sikhs aren't coming out, so they decided to barge in forcefully. So they broke down the door of the Gurdwara, they came in, shoes on, into the Darbar, and killed and attacked a lot of people that were there. A lot of the Sangat was injured. A lot of the Singhs were killed. There was about 8 or 9 Nihang Singhs that started fighting, and like in self-defense, and they were killed off as well. Even the Sarup of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj as well was also shot. There was bullet holes through Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj as well, and it eventually got drained in blood as well, because there was a lot of bloodshed that actually went on. It wasn't really, a lot of people weren't killed in that massacre, but a lot of people were severely injured. And a great example of one of the people who was severely injured was Baba Nihal Singh. Baba Nihal Singh is also known as Zinda Shaheed, because Baba Nihal Singh was actually taking over to read Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji in the Akhand Path next. So he was standing right next to Guru Sahib's tabia, and when the police came in, he was getting ready to take over his turn on the roll, and he was attacked and shot 3 or 4 times as well. So he's regarded as Zinda Shaheed, the living martyr. So the police then, after the bloodshed happened, after the Sangat was injured or killed, and the same with some of the Nihang Singhs that were there, they tried to clean it up to ensure that people didn't really figure it out. But it was very difficult to clean up a lot of blood. The Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj was obviously covered in blood. Same with Sri Dasam Granth Sahib as well, and a lot of the Sikhs' weapons as well were covered in blood because obviously they tried to fight back as well. And so, that was the kind of situation. Eventually, obviously, the Sikhs got together, they took control of the Gurdwara, and they were able to establish that Raj on the Gurdwara again and keep Gurdwara Singh out. Gurdwara Singh was eventually punished as well for his deeds. But this is the kind of concept of this Mahanta ideology, this Masanda ideology that we have in our Panth. Unfortunately, nowadays we can see it kind of creeping back. This idea of Gurdwara Pradhans, running Gurdwara, caring more about the money, caring more about what's going in the Golak rather than what's actually going on in the Gurdwara. And you can see it's quite evident when you have a Gurdwara that's built so beautifully, but there's nothing going on in it. There's no clubs for kids, there's no Kirtan classes, there's no Punjabi lessons, there's no things, there's no Sikhi talks, there's no bringing in Vidwans to talk to people, to understand things, no seminars, no things like that. When things like that don't occur in a Gurdwara, that's the kind of signs that you start getting that maybe we need to redo this Gurdwara reform movement to try and get rid of those people who are just there in it for the money. I mean, nowadays we can see it more and more when someone's kicked out of a committee for the Gurdwara and he just goes and builds another one. So we got to kind of think about how things are going, especially outside of India. It still applies. It's still Guru Granth Sahib Ji's got it's a Gurdwara. It's not a Prabandhak's Dwara. It's not a person's Dwara. It's the Gurdwara. So we need to treat it like the Gurdwara, not treat it like somewhere that we can just make our own money. So that's the kind of idea that this entails, this Saki teaches you, this Saka teaches you, that if the Jathebandis work together and people get together and they do what they need to do for their Guru, then everything will work out. But how it is nowadays, where Jathebandis don't want to work together, people are fighting with each other, they won't deal with the issues that are at hand, that's when you start getting these kind of problems, and that's when you need to start addressing these kind of issues. So I hope you've all enjoyed. I hope this taught you a little bit about Saka Paonta Sahib and kind of what happened there, and I hope this taught you this concept as well, because it is a concept that everyone needs to think about, especially the youth nowadays as well. They need to start thinking about what they can do to bring people into the Gurdwara. Bhulna chukka di khema. Please forgive me for any mistakes I've made. Waheguru ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru ji ki Fateh.
ਅਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ। ਨਵੀਂ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੀ ਨੋਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਬੈਲ ਆਈਕਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲਣਾ।